Welcome to Where There's a Wills.
There's a play.
My name's Ian.
I'm Stacey.
And we're here with another initial impressions. If you saw our showcase wall for the month, you saw that we are doing November. Now, this is not one of the games that is on the wall. We just wanted to get something a little lighter, a little quicker to the table first. So today we will be giving our initial impressions on Parks Roll and Hike. I did learn this solo first and then taught it to Stacey. So I will be talking about both solo and multiplayer. And Stacey will be giving her thoughts on the multiplayer.
For a non-gamer gamer.
And getting onto the rule book. Or as they like to call it, the official park guide. So the rule book is set up really nicely. Gives you the goal right at the beginning as to what you're going to do. Gives you the setup, the overview, nice pictures of everything that's in there. It's a little off camera, but
it'll work.
Let's see if we can. There we go. Then turn structure, the different phases, the hiking, and what each thing within the hiking phase is. So very well laid out. Wildlife sightings tells you what those are all are. So it is a very well laid out rule book. Gives you here during your trail end, your sunset phase, tells you what some different things are. Everything is here is numbered as far as what the person was, what they were doing. They have a nice example here. Then they have more of the sunset phase, and then your final scoring. And then the hiking solo has a single card guide that tells you what changes are and how Ranger Teddy helps you out as you are moving along. Okay, so I thought the rule book was really well written. Good examples. What did you think?
I agree. I was half-ass listening as you were reading the rule book. So
you have a little headache.
I've got a massive headache.
Massive headache today.
So Tylenol ain't cutting it today. So as far as I could tell, it was everything that you needed to know.
All right, moving on to the setup. The setup for this game is very minimal. You have a two-sided player board, depending on how many players. There's the 3 to 4 player side. There's the 1 to 2 player side. Then you have these little trail tokens with different symbols on them. You randomly place each one of these on one of the trail spots. For 3 to 5 players, there is another one that has binoculars on it that you don't use. Then you put the trail marker or the what is it called? The group token at the first thing, and there's your setup. Then you roll the 5 dice. So you have 5 dice. You roll the 5 dice, and you place them above the board. And that's really the setup of the game. So very quick setup. I guess part of the setup, is also giving each person a booklet here, which we'll talk about under the components. But really, that's really it. And choosing which park you're going to visit. So choosing which park you're going to visit. So setup is pretty minimal. We'll take a look at some of those other components here in just a minute under the components section of the board of the video. So we have these really nice dice. Really, they're a good weighted dice.
Yeah.
I think they're not too heavy, but there's some dice that sometimes are too light. Have all the symbols you need. So I really like those.
And some have one symbol, some have 2 symbols.
Yeah, so some things have more than one. So there might be 2 things that you get both. You might have one, and then there's some where you have to choose. Oh, if you're looking for at wildlife, you have to choose which one you're going to do. Then you have, like I said, you have the player board, and your nice chunky marker here. I mean, that's a nice thick marker, and then even these trail tokens are a nice thickness. So those are really nice. And then you have, what else do we got here? We got
your guidebook.
Our guidebooks, basically. Each person gets one of these. Your logbook. I really like how they did this as a logbook, and they have some nice information in the front of them
about each park.
About each park in the front, and then the rest of them are in the back. Oh, and look, you can even order more pages.
Oh, there you go.
Which for us should not be a problem because this will be played solo or 2-player, and there are 4 guidebooks. And then we have our cards, which are nice thickness as you would expect from Keymaster and anything to do with parts. So good components. Moving on to the part Stacey likes the most to talk about, the artwork.
I haven't had a big chance to go through all of this
Start
yet.
with this.
But I like how the game board is set up. It it shows the parts of what you're collecting in your book for the most part. Your trees, your mountains, your waterfall for Yosemite,
and your valleys
and
and
your
flowers,
valleys. Yeah. So all of the aspects that you're actually playing with are on your board. So that's really nice. It's simple artistry in this one. It's not the same as the parks artistry. It's very simple, very straight to the point, I think.
That was kind of the one thing I noticed when I played solo the other day.
Yeah.
Is that it's very, it's just
it's very colorful.
Simple
though.
line drawing with very
Mhm.
just single colors. Nothing. But they're still very nice.
Yeah,
like
they're nice.
really nice. I mean,
yeah, they always take great care in all of their artwork that they have in all of their games that I've played so far. Um, so with that, I do like all of the cards and I like the board. The little book that they give you to do your rights in. Very simple artistry as well. Very like Ian said, the line work on them is it easy, simple to follow, and yet you know what it is. It's like how I would draw in. Well, I did draw in my book.
we'll show you that in a little bit.
So, I like it.
I will say one thing about the guidebook is I really like that they didn't just put all the different sections on a plain background, and they put all this like art behind it, because it kind of adds a nice little touch, and it's not so plain. It looks very nice, and it kind of, each section kind of pops out a little more. Like this is, if this was just, oh, I'm gonna outline each section on the same color, it wouldn't pop. But I do like how each section kind of stands out nicely, and I like the cover of this.
Yeah,
I really like the cover of this. It's a really nice artwork. Makes you want to go outdoors.
Yeah. It reminds me of those little, you're an REI or some other outdoor shop and they have those little basket of stickers sitting on the counter.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of those stickers.
Putting a bunch of those stickers all over the place.
Yeah. So I like it.
All right, moving on to the gameplay. So in Parks Roll and Hike, you are hiking over a series of 3 days. Each day to start, you roll the dice, and you have the lead hiker dice, and then you have 4 regular dice. These don't cost you anything. In order to take this, you need to pay suns, which is something that you earn. This is the suns section of the board. When you want this, you have to pay the number of suns as per the number of these dice that are remaining in your board. So early on, obviously you're taking these, but once it gets going, well, you know what? There's only one of these left, and I really want this symbol, because what you do is when you take this, you get to move this marker to the next spot. You get to take this action, and we'll talk about the different actions here in just a second when I put the guidebook back on, or the logbook back on. You get to take this action. Everybody gets to write about that spot. What do they call it?
It's a mountain.
The landmarks. So everybody gets to write about this landmark, whatever landmark it is, and this arrowhead goes with each park, has a different landmark. So you can see Yosemite has a waterfall, Glacier has snowflake, Acadia has an acorn, Arches has an arch, because why wouldn't it have an arch?
Well,
Great Smoky Mountains has clouds, and Death Valley has
ooh.
Death Valley has a skull, but there's also
Also
something else
suns.
here that I'm not sure what that's all about.
I haven't played that one yet.
No. So as you play, you move through, and as you are collecting these different symbols, and I'm going to take this off so I can show you the logbook. So as you are doing things, you can do multiple. There's a lot of things you can do in this one. This one it's a lighter roll and write, but there's surprisingly a lot of stuff you can do. So when you get a symbol, so let's say I get, of course I'm not going to be able to find one. Let's say I get this flower. Okay, I can do one of two things. I can either mark off one of the things up here in the sunset section, or I can draw the flower. Now, when you get this token, you get to do the same thing, but then everybody can write about the flower. So if you can write about something, so if you get a pencil, you get to write about your adventure. So you can write on these lines. So you can see on one that I played, you just kind of write in, oh, look, I wrote about that, I wrote about that, I wrote about that. So you write about things. When you fill these in completely, you get some bonuses. So you see, if you have a mountain that's filled in completely, you get to write about something else. A flower, you get to get a water into your canteen. And then a tree, you get binoculars. When you get binoculars, you get bonuses. So there's a lot going on in here. Up here, these are the sunset things. So we'll talk about that in a minute. That's at the end of a full day of hiking. So when you get binoculars, when you get binoculars, it gives you, when you get two of them, you get to mark something off. So here's the wildlife you might see. If you see a fish and you want to see the fish, you can put water into your canteen. The turtle gives you sun. The bear allows you to write something, and the bird allows you to mark something off in your sunset. So as you're hiking throughout the day, you are marking lots of different things off. Then at the end of a day, when you've reached the last trailhead, you go through and you do all of your sunset things. So if you've marked this off, you can write on a tree. You can only write if you have an open tree down here, or a flower, or the mountain, or your arrowhead spot. So for this, it was waterfall. You can add water. You can add suns. You can add binoculars. You can roll the yellow dice. So that is the basics of play. I said, when you choose to take the yellow dice, you pay. So like if I had 2 white dice left, I would pay 2 suns in order to do that. The suns is how much time you're taking the trip on your trail, and
Your suns are typically your money.
It's basically your currency for this. It's the amount of time on your trail. So that is the basic gameplay for it. So moving on to scoring. The scoring. So scoring for this has a couple different phases. At the end of each day, you score your canteen. So whichever column you filled in the most. So on day 1, on this one, I had 1 point. But on day 2, I had 6 points. Day 3, I had 16 points. So that's the first part. Then you score your journal. You get 1 point for every line you've written. Then if you happen to draw a picture in all of these, you get an extra 5 points. So let's see here if I can. So down here, there's 3 more here. So if you draw a picture, a landmark in each one of those, you get 5 extra points. So that's the second part of scoring. Then you score your wildlife. See, can we see that? Okay, there. So this is the wildlife one right here. So the way you score your wildlife is you'll see how there's these different scoring things in between each of these. So if I've covered both these, I get to circle that. I get that. I get that. I got that one. I did not get either of these because I didn't have this bear. So you needed, whatever you have things above and below marked off, you get to score, you get those points. And then the final part is whatever park you're in has special scoring. So we were in Yosemite, and Yosemite, for if you have one set of each thing, so if you have one mountain, tree, flower, and waterfall, you get 5 points. If you have 2 of each, you actually get 10 points. So each park has their own bonus scoring at the end of the game. So like this one, something to do with wildlife. You multiply. Oh, it looks like this one you multiply your wildlife by 2. And there are explanations of all this stuff on the back, so you can see what the different things do. So each one has their own scoring, and that's how you score. Moving on to our final thoughts. And actually, I'm going to backtrack real quick because I forgot to talk about the solo play in the gameplay. So in the solo, it is just slightly different. So I'm going to How do I want to do this?
No,
Well, we're just
talk about it.
gonna talk about it. I'm gonna pop this back up for solo, and so I can talk about the solo.
Need a solo slide.
Yeah, yeah, I probably do. So in the solo mode, when you play, um, you either get one dice for free, any one dice for free, or you can pay 2 suns to take the yellow dice and one of the other dice. The difference in the solo is every time you take a dice, you move your marker. So you don't get to do everything. Like, so if I take, so every turn, so on one turn, I get to either take one of the dice, it doesn't matter which one, or I can pay 2 suns to take the yellow and one of these. Whatever I do, I move this no matter what. The way I get this bonus is if I've taken the yellow dice. So just like in the multiplayer, it's you get the bonus if you get the yellow dice. Same thing. If I've used the yellow dice, then I get that. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. Ranger Teddy gives you some bonuses though. So like in Yosemite, when I complete a pair of when I get a complete a pair of binoculars, I also got an extra sun to spend, which was nice. So that is the solo play. A little bit out of order there, but
It'll do.
now we'll move on to final thoughts. Okay. I really like this game. It looks like that's a little blurry. There we go.
There we go.
I did really like this. I really like this one. It's a lighter one. For me, as far as my roll and writes go, I can see this one being one that's very quick. It's very quick to set up. It is one of the quickest roll and writes that I have to set up. There isn't much to it. You got a booklet, you got a couple dice, and you got a couple of trail markers. Very quick. I can see this one being something that I play at night, real quick. I get home and I'm like, okay, I just want to play something quick. Can play this in solo in about 20, 25 minutes. And there's lots of different things that you're able to do. I'll be honest, I was not expecting. I don't know. I didn't know what to expect from this. I was not expecting that having so many cascading effects. Like, oh, if I do this, then I can do this, and then that happens, and that happens. Like, there's a couple times where like both of us had like 4 or 5 things that kind of just triggered right along, which I really like. That part of things reminds me a lot of some of the stuff you can do in Hadrian's Wall, which is a much heavier game, and also Draft and Write Records, where if you do one thing, then look, if I do this, well, now I can do that, then that, then that, then I can mark that, which will help me later on. So I did like that. I really enjoy this game. I love Parks, the base game, and the expansions. This is a good addition to it. It is a lighter roll and write. It's much lighter than Parks itself. But I can see this one hitting the table quite a bit in the evening for me, especially for solo, because it is really quick to set up. And if I want something just really quick, I can get this one out pretty quick. So I like this one. This one's definitely going to get quite a bit of play, especially with the 6 different parks that I can visit. What are your thoughts?
So for a non-gamer, I actually, and this is what I'm going to say is going to surprise Ian immensely, I believe, but I actually like this game, and I like this better than the board game Parks. Even though, like he was saying with the Cascadia effect, it's hard for me to keep
Cascading effect,
Oh,
Cascadia.
Cascadia is a fun game too. But the cascading effects, where if you, let's say you fill in something up here in your nighttime, then that allows you to write down here. Oops, down here. If it's your third time you write something down here, then you can either fill in a water or you can fill in a binocular, and then that could trigger something to do in the animal section, which could trigger something to do up here in your other section. So for me, that is a lot. It's hard for me to keep track of what I just did and what I'm supposed to do. But other than that, Ian, points me in the right direction. Hey, you just did that, so now you need to finish doing this. Or I'd wait for him to finish doing what he needed to do for scoring so that he could follow along with me to make sure that I scored everything. Because at the end of each day, you go through and score everything in your night mode, and so you
trigger all of your sunsets up, but you score your I made sure that if she had cascading things, I'm like, okay, what did you? Okay, so then you get to do this. I just made sure that she remembered each step that she could do. I think if she plays it more, I think it'll be something that you would be like, oh yeah, I do this and this.
'Cause I'm not a big roll and write person. There's a couple games that I
Yeah, she hasn't played very many roll or flip and write, so this whole
this is new
do this
to me.
do this.
And then I love the artistic aspect of it. It tells you you're supposed to draw simple things. You're just supposed to squiggle a line for your notes. But
Yes.
I don't follow
So in
rules.
the notes and stuff, it makes it easier for scoring. Like this is like here's the symbols that they have. They've got the mountain symbol, they've got the forest, they've got your flower, and then they've got your waterfall symbol or whatever symbol it is. And then for the notes part, they just they've just got some you know lines here that you're supposed to kind of squiggle over saying you're writing something. Well, Stacy,
I don't follow
She
rules.
she was actually writing, which I thought was awesome. Every time we're like, okay, so she was actually coming up with single word things to write about, and then she was doing different flowers. I will say when we went to score the end, and I'm like, okay, how many sets do you wait? What do you have? It was a little harder to do because I had to go.
Yes.
Oh, there's a flower. There's a flower. There's a mountain, and a waterfall, and a waterfall. I mean, the trees were, but like, I'm like, okay, mountain, okay, because I was looking for the symbols, and it was a little harder to do that part, but she had fun doing it, so
Next time
whatever.
I'll probably just follow the rules like everybody else.
No, she won't.
I won't.
No, she won't. Yeah, so I really like this one. The one thing I will say is the one thing that I think is the tricky part is as you're collecting the dice, when do I draw something new in my journal
Yeah.
versus when do I mark these? Because you can't write next to a symbol unless you have that landmark in your journal and if you have something empty. So like if I fill stuff up here and I get to the sunset phase and it says, "Oh, write about a mountain," and I don't have a mountain in here that I can write about, it's a wasted thing. Or if I collect one of these, or if someone else collects one of those and I say, and they're like, "Oh, write about a mountain." Well, shoot, I don't have a mountain in my journal. So it is the fine line of like, this is going to give you some nice effects at the end of every day. But you also want to make sure that you have enough of those, that you have some empty spaces in here. Especially if you have mountains, because the special ability when you fill in a mountain is you get to write something else. So you could really like bounce that around to multiple things. Especially if you get here's an example like with the cascading effect. If you get two binoculars and you were to get a wildlife and then you were to mark off a bear, which allows you to write, and then you were able to write on the third writing on a mountain, then you get to write again. Well, let's say then you write something on something a on a flower, then you get some water. Or if you started with a tree, so let's say this tree had two and you wrote on a tree. Well, then you get your binocular. Well, let's say you get a second binocular. Then you do all that. You could do like write on a tree, and then you could write on a tree. Then you could get your second binocular, which could give you a wildlife, which would let you write on a mountain, which would let you write on something. I mean, so that's where that cascading one thing leads to another. I mean, you could really string together some really good things. The one thing I did like about the multiplayer mode was like, let's say I took that dice and then someone took that dice and then it's like, well, do I want to pay one for this, or I really need that? Well, now there's no white dice left, so that dice is free as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
That maybe, but it says you pay for however many white ones left. Well, that one's free. So do you want to leave that one for someone, or do you want to pay the one or two to make sure you get that one and that they don't get that one for free? Because this one does have some nice things on it.
I thought those were slippers when I first saw them.
But anyway, I really enjoyed this one. I think this one's going to this one could rise up my list. I got a couple more flip slash roll and writes I need to play in our collection. Hopefully this month, before I do a top 10. And if we can get Stacy to learn enough of them, maybe we'll do a five and dime. But I did do a five and dime flip and right, roll and right earlier this year, and I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we'll do a five and dime. Most likely it'll be just a top 10 for me because Stacy's played like 3 or 4 of them, I think maybe.
I think it's 5.
We'd have to look. I don't know if you've played 5 of them yet. We'll have to look. But
Add this one in. I think it's 5.
we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Oh yeah, long shot. I keep on forgetting
Uh-huh.
long shot. The dice game is a roll night. So yeah, I think you've got 4 now. I think you got 4 now. It could be 5, but I think it's 4 now. But anyway, I really enjoyed this one. I can't wait to play it more multiplayer and solo and explore the rest of the parks and see what those abilities are.
I like it.
All right. Well,
As a non-gamer gamer, 2 thumbs up
all right. There you go.
with help.
Hey, you know, sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need the assistance if you can't see. If you can't see what's going on, you know.
Next time it'll be more Tylenol.
The cascading effects. Yeah, especially with a headache. But yeah, so this one's a keeper. This one's a good one. Doesn't take up a lot of space. It's quick to the table. It'll get played quite a bit, I think. Have you played Parks Roll and Hike? Let us know what you think about it. If you like this video and want to see more, hit that subscribe button up above. And if you want to see the rest of our initial impressions video, you can follow that link. Once again, this has been Where There's a Wills.
There's a play.
I'm Ian.
I'm Stacey.
And we'll see you next time.
At the table.